one of the biggest obstacles, problems, struggles that I've always had when running an online business is making campaign plans. Actually defining, okay, we're going to launch this thing, we're selling this thing, and I'm going to send these emails on these days. This video is going to go out then, that kind of thing. And doing it ahead of time. Actually doing the planning and putting things on the calendar. I've worked with various people, consultants and digital marketing agencies and stuff who have done it for me, which has been okay because then somebody else is giving me a deadline. But when I've done it myself, which is the majority of the time, there's just been this big empty space with me going, I don't know. It's almost like it feels like I'm pulling dates from my rear end for no particular reason. And until this morning, I actually thought of it as a personal deficit, that I had some kind of fear or anxiety, or I don't know, maybe I was just lazy or undisciplined, not disciplined enough. You know, all of these words that are essentially meaningless and just a way of beating myself over the head. And then this morning, I've actually realized something by working with, it was Fable this morning. So I'm launching something new and around, for builders. And I asked Fable to send off 5 agents to go and look at what I'd done already and the engagement numbers and things. So when I say 5 agents, it was an Opus agent, Sonnet, GPT 5.6 Sol, GPT 5.6, which one is it? Terra, and yeah, that's the middle one. And then GPT 5.6, 5.5 Codex. And I asked it to go and have a look at the emails that I've sent to my list. I made a .md file of those emails with the various different numbers to kind of come back to me with what it thought, where how it was going, what my next moves might be. And while doing this, I suddenly realized, because obviously they come back and they come to different conclusions about the same things. And while I was doing this, I realized what my problem has been all along with campaign planning. So in order to explain this to you, I'm going to have to explain something about this system that I've built, which, I don't know, depending, might be slightly difficult to grasp. I don't know. It might be. I just know that when I've explained it to some people, they've kind of, it's been hard for them to grok, but just stick with it. See if you can get what I mean. All right. So almost all, in fact, I think all systems of like project management systems, or in fact, computer systems of almost any kind, log the state of various different things. So let me give you a very, very simple example. If I have a project, I don't know, let's say I've got a piece of content I need to make, and then so before I make it, I've got an idea, and I say, this is an idea. And then you start working on it, and it becomes in progress. And then it turns into a draft, and so on and so forth. So each of these things define a particular state. And what most systems, I think almost all systems do, is they log the state of any given thing in a file somewhere. Or, it could be in a database, it could be in a spreadsheet, it could be actually in a markdown file, right? So it says, this thing is a draft or whatever. Now, so there's the state of things, and there's also what I would call meaning, which is, why is this important? What is this? That kind of thing. In fact, state is just a type of meaning. Now, the problem is with state or meaning is that it's context dependent. When I say context dependent, it's the person who is actually looking at that thing at a particular time from a particular perspective. The state, the meaning of that thing is dependent on where that person is when they're reading it, right? So is this finished? Finished is actually, well, it kind of depends. Sometimes you might think something's finished. Sometimes you might realize it's not finished. Yeah, that meaning, this is finished, is actually ephemeral. It's not a fact. You know that famous phrase, art is never finished, only abandoned? Well, that's an expression of what I'm talking about here. Right? So actually everything that is being logged, everything, pretty much everything that is being logged about these things that we're working on are actually changing all the time. They're temporary. Yeah, they're not fixed. And yet we write them in these files and as if they are fixed, and then AIs come and read those files and they go, and because of the way that AI works, this is a written down thing, it views that thing as being a fact. And isn't it one of the most annoying things about working with these AIs where you've made a decision in the past and the file hasn't been updated properly, and then you say, right, we're doing this, and then the AI comes back and goes, this contradicts what you have explicitly said is blah, 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 blah. Right? And actually keeping all of your all of your files and all of your decisions and all of the state stuff updated when you are logging the state of these different things, which are always changing, is an absolute disaster. Because LLMs make mistakes all the time. When they log the state of things, they will kind of use different words and everything like that. And so it just turns into this big steaming mess of, I don't know what's going on, and catching the AIs up and all that kind of stuff. So my question in trying to solve this problem with my system is well, what doesn't change? Yeah, what is actually permanent? Right, it's quite a difficult question to answer. Right, because even Mount Everest isn't permanent. Even the sun isn't permanent. Right? So what I realized is that the only thing that I can say is permanent is that something happened. Right? So the fact that I went boop, I can say that me going boop happened, and it just happened again. And don't worry, I'm not going to go around in a loop and keep going boop. Or maybe I am. Boop. Yeah, anyway, I just went boop 5 times. That happened. So that was a series of 5 events that I can verify as having happened. That the boop event happened 6 times now. Right? It's not actually, there's no meaning that actually happened. So I've created a system where I am logging events saying this happened. So what I have been told since actually building this thing, and I kind of reasoned this up from first principles, is that I am doing something called event streaming or event sourcing in engineering terms. Now, it is what I'm actually, the system that I am building, still building right now. In fact, these 2 lanes here are actually working on it right now. What I'm actually doing isn't event sourcing or event streaming. It's because in my system, I'm experimenting with making it militant, which is this system, my system, does not record the state of anything anywhere. It just records events, what happened. I mean, when I say it doesn't record the state of anything anywhere, we do make files and things, but that isn't the source of truth. The source of truth is the events log. Now, at the moment, to be transparent, I'm kind of in the middle of moving from the big steaming pile of mess to this events system over here. So there is still some stuff that is going stale. Right? And, you know, because of most events sourcing, event streaming systems do actually log state in various different ways. And I'm just saying, no, what happens if we don't do that? And we just completely, what we actually do in order to figure out whether something is finished or what the status is of any given thing, what we do is we take the events that have happened about that thing, and then we can compute the state of it based upon what happened. Right? Because then the state of the thing is based upon facts, not upon these files that go stale. So one way of putting it is, instead of building a system of record, which is what everyone uses, I am building a system to record. And it's a very difficult thing to do, and I've expended an enormous amount of time and effort doing it, but it is starting to work. Now, how does this relate to my marketing problem that I've had throughout my career, like 15-year career of running an online business? I realized this morning, see, my mind, like, it's almost like it refuses to log state. It's like, to me, everything's always changing and everything's dynamic. This is what discovery building is about. This is what discovery is about. Like design, the design thing where you go, right, this is what I want, and I know exactly what it needs to be in the future. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's actually also expressed in the quote, what is it? No plan survives the battle or something. I can't remember what it is, right? But the actual value of the planning of a plan isn't the plan; it's in the planning. That's kind of expressing what I'm talking about here. Because the other problem is that I've always had is with goals. A goal is going, I'm going to do this thing over here without knowing what actually that means, because I haven't yet got the goal. So I've always had that problem with goals too. So I need things to be more dynamic, because just single-mindedly going, right, I'm going to set this goal and move forward, and I'm going to ignore anything that happens, because it might be the wrong goal. You might have walked up the wrong mountain. Yeah, you might not be on Everest. You might be on the Eiger. Right, that would be a pretty bad mistake. But you know what I mean? It's like these kind of fixed records of this is what I'm doing just don't seem to work for my mind. And what is setting a campaign plan ahead of time and then just executing on that plan no matter what, right? That is logging state. But in the future, there's no ability for you, if you do that, to change. Well, there's not no. Well, yeah, I mean, if you do that, there is no ability for you to change, because you're just going single-minded, no matter what happens, single-mindedly at this goal. The problem that I have with that way of marketing, which is pretty much the way that everybody I've seen does it, is that there is no response to the feedback that you are getting from what you build. And so this morning, as I was working with what I'd done already and getting all of these insights, not exactly from the LLMs, because most of the time I sort of disagreed with them. Actually, one useful thing here that I found is that when you're getting an AI or AIs, in fact, in a situation like this, I would always encourage you to get multiple different models to look at the same thing. So when you're getting an AI to do any kind of audit like that, any kind of review of something that's happening, whether it's in marketing or anything else, it's almost like ignore their conclusions. Like you come to your own conclusions and instead look at the points that they are pulling out which are leading to them coming to their conclusions. Yeah, so really try and damp down the effect their conclusions have, but look at the points they're making. Because often, in fact, Opus did this. It came up with a number of great points, but its conclusion, it was almost like it just decided it was going to make this conclusion and then kind of argued for it. Same with Sonnet, actually. And so it's almost so that's one thing, but the other thing is, now I've forgotten what I was saying in the first place. But essentially, by looking at what the AIs are saying and the points that they're pulling out, almost all of them made great points. Some of them missed the point in certain cases, but made great points that allowed me to see where the opportunities were based upon what had happened. And so not only am I discovery building, I've realized that my problem with marketing and my resistance isn't fear. It's not anxiety. It's not me being lazy. It's not me being undisciplined. Or maybe I'm just confirmation biasing myself now. But anyway, no, let's just say it's none of that. What it is that what works for me and what I actually think, if I can build a system to do this more easily and more quickly, it's going to be amazing, but is actually this thing I'm calling discovery marketing. Because there are certain things that are events in the future that I can say are facts, as long as I don't drop dead or, a meteor hits me as I'm walking down the road. I can say that this thing is being launched on this day, right? So that's a thing I can fix. I can say other things as well, like I'm off on this day. Yeah, I've got to go out on that day. So these are things that are already in the schedule. Around that, so those are the actual only fixed events. Everything around it can shift according to the feedback I get from actually doing the thing. That is a much, much more effective way of doing almost everything, including, in fact, especially marketing, because you don't know what you don't know. So, for example, yesterday and the day before, and I think the day before, I had started a series, which I am going to continue, on building a builder's business, building a business using these new tools, and the 11 questions that that I'm answering by building, that every business needs to answer. And I am going to do that. But what I realized yesterday, again, this is a discovery thing, was that it would be even better delivered to you in a workshop, in an actual live workshop, which I've decided to do Sunday today. So on my Friday morning. I haven't got the link for it right now, because what I'm going to do in the next few videos is I'm actually going to show you me at building the workshop and actually doing the stuff for the workshop in order to promote that workshop, which I'd love you to come to. Again, have a look in the description, because by the time this video comes up, I may well have actually sorted out the page, because the video tomorrow is going to be about making the workshop sign-up page. It's quite confusing when you're all these levels of meta. And then what I will do in the playlist, which I've made of this thing, is I will actually chop up the workshop and make videos out of that. So that's how that will actually end up being as I promised. But again, this in itself is an example of this discovery building, this discovery marketing, this discovery way of moving forward through life, because this idea that we need to decide what we are going to do for the next however long, when everything is changing around you, just doesn't work in the modern world. It doesn't work with all of these AIs that we're working with. It doesn't work in so many ways. And being a discovery builder, being somebody who actually revels in the uncertainty, right? Because revels is the wrong word. I wouldn't exactly say that, but can be okay with living with the uncertainty, actually leveraging it, turning that into an advantage, that is something that I think is hugely valuable. In fact, I know it's hugely valuable. I can't see change going away or slowing down anytime soon. Could you? So, if that's the case, don't we need to find, develop, discover a new way of working that allows for, actually leverages change as being something that we can use to create more value for ourselves, make more value for other people, and build a better future? So, on that edifying note, I'm going to love you and leave you and say onwards and upwards.